Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. I have with me a very special guest, an author, and a coach named Clare Ford. How are you, Claire?
Hi, Guy. I am great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's lovely to be talking with you. And we're talking on the subject of literacy, which is very dear to my heart because I think of literacy as something like a lot of people say that literacy and being literate is a privilege and stuff like this in the modern world, and more children should be literate and should be avid readers, which is something that doesn't happen, but we are going to try to make it happen through technologies like the audiobooks and stuff like this. Children's books have a lot of different illustrations and stuff like this. And I like to look at illustrations. I'm an artist, an art teacher, and an English teacher. And I think you can learn a lot through looking at different pictures that tell a story while you read the story. So, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and about your work?
Yes, of course. I'd be delighted to. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Thank you.
My name is Clare Ford. I'm an expert educator with over 20 years' experience working with families and young people. And my passion really is all about getting learners who have switched off from learning, who are disengaged, unmotivated, and bored, right? To get them switched back onto learning so that they're excited about their learning journey and then they actually achieve far greater results than they ever thought possible. And I do this using my method where we put emotional well-being and personal development and growth actually above and beyond academic success. And then when they're happy and settled and inspired, the academic success comes as a result of that.
Mm. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, shall we say, the academic success, because we have moved away from thinking of academics and the being on the ivory tower overlooking the land, the subjects, shall we say, or the underlings, as Shakespeare would have put it in his day, which is a nice, a nice crude statement, but fairly accurate, unfortunately. So to think of literacy as something more than just being successful and achieving the your not your goals, but the expectations that society and also the government in some ways have from an individual, a citizen. um, well, the laws are laid out fairly clearly, and it's not clear to everybody. The culture is not unanimous, shall we say, and so is literacy. Literacy is not unanimous. Sorry. Um, and what do you think we should strive to do as educators, aside from the getting the highest marks and grades and go to the best Ivy League schools that cost $500,000 a year?
Yeah, exactly. Excuse me, I just have to got something on my eye. Yeah, great question. So for me, what I've been doing in the Switched On Academy is turning all this traditional kind of ideas and thoughts on its head, right? So for me, I like to think of the academic success, the Ivy League and all of that you're talking about as the top of the pyramid, right? That's the bit that everybody sees. But often what we don't see is the trials and tribulations and the efforts that have gone into getting a student to that place, whether it's with their teachers, by themselves, internally motivated, externally motivated, bribed with money, whatever it is, there's effort that's gone in to get them to the top of the pyramid. Now, what I do in the Switched On method is that we completely turn that on its head. And we look at the bit that's at the bottom of the pyramid first. So we look at that emotional well-being. And for me, the way that I have realized that students are engaged in their learning, regardless of background, ethnicity, or ability, is if they are motivated by making their learning relevant, meaningful, and fun. And this is what I've done in my literacy lessons, but to such an extent that the children actually come out with something tangible. So they start off on day one with their blank piece of paper, no idea, and then they end up at the end of the week, just in 1 week, 1 hour a day, they end up with a story that gets turned into a publishable book. And this way, they are motivated and engaged. And it's not just the high flyers, right? Obviously, this gives a beautiful outlet for our talented and gifted children. You know, I had an amazing lady, I'll show you in the book in a moment, amazing student. She was only 8 or 9, really fabulous artist, wants to be a writer, beautiful way of expressing herself. But there are also amazing stories with, you know, the reluctant boys, the reluctant learners, the reluctant readers, and you know, who are dyslexic, dyspraxic, SEN, English as a second language. They've taken this course and they've actually produced their own book as well, which has far exceeded what they ever thought was possible for them. And in this way, they are now motivated to go and try things that they didn't feel would be possible for them when they've been told they're stupid, they can't do it, they've got low self-esteem, lack of confidence. To say, I've produced a book in lockdown, here's my published story, right? That has gone above and beyond just being teaching them literacy and how to write a good story and here's a plan to follow, right? It's gone way above and beyond that because it's given the confidence, them the confidence to really go out, you know, share their story with others, but also to think, wow, if I can publish a book when I'm 10, then when I'm an adult, I can do anything, right?
Yeah. Um, Sorry, there is a reverberation. Can you please turn the sound a little bit because I can hear myself like in a radio. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so okay, so moving on. um, yes, I agree with everything that you said. Education should strive to be multidisciplinary, shall we say, and it should have different ways of existing, shall we say, because the current school system and education system seems to be more akin to a prison system or something like this, because there are recesses and there are lunch breaks and stuff like this. Just exactly as a prison, you are told when to enter and when to leave the class and when to come back. You have different tests, shall we say. Um, so I don't want to talk about prison. I don't want to talk about school reform, not prison, but school reform. That's a whole another topic. Um, can you tell me a little bit about your book, about why you wrote it, about literacy, which is a very touchy subject, I think. Yeah.
Yes, of course. So during so about a year ago now, in June 2020, during the middle of the lockdown, there were many parents who were contacting me and they're saying, oh, you know, Claire, our children are so bored. They're getting the same stuff from school online. They've already done it. The teachers aren't marking it. Like, what's the point? And then there were other parents contacting me saying, Claire, we don't understand what's being sent home. We don't know what a fronted adverbial is. We don't know what a complex sentence is. We don't know why our children need to know this. So I'm like, right, okay, let's sort this out. Okay, let's give the kids something fun to do where they're also learning all the grammar, the spelling, the punctuation. We're building these skills and we're giving them a project, right? A passion project, which was to create their own book. Now, I was so blown away by the children's stories that I decided to compile them in this book, Lollipops and Rainbows. But it's really different. It's not just all the children's stories in there. It's a book that's an educational resource for parents and teachers. And it's called Teaching Literacy with Soul, because it's not just the stories. It also gives you a huge range of different writing types. So we've got in here, for example, writing a letter, right? You mentioned about images. We've got a boy who wrote a comic strip in here, right? So there's all sorts of different things. There's how to write a letter, how to write a recipe, how to write a poem, how to write a creation story, like all different kinds of things. And the first chapter that's in here, Artemis's birthday, is a story that I wrote at the same time that I was teaching the children how to write their stories. So we wrote it together. We adopted what I call a shoulder-to-shoulder approach, where I'm going on the learning journey with them.
Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off. Just a caveat. Uh, I can still hear myself. It's a little too loud.
Okay. I mean, I always use this tech, so.
No. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, sorry. So I just wanted to say some caveat or a small note that not a lot of boys are named Artemis, but a lot of girls are named Artemisia or something like this.
Okay.
Which is yeah, fascinating, I think, cultural phenomenon.
Okay, so yes, thank you for mentioning that. So we had lots of boys and lots of girls from all around the world collaborating in this book. And the thing that's slightly different is that there are also mini meditations. There are options for children to do aligned activities to follow up afterwards, and also to ask curious questions. So it's not all about writing. For those children who don't like writing, they can be read to. They can have discussions around it. They can do activities which are art activities. For example, we've got in here a recipe for sunshine, and one of the children has gone out and done a salute to the sun out in the beautiful countryside, right? Bringing sunshine into her life. So it works on lots and lots of different levels. And at the back, there are resources for the parents to learn how to teach their children these literacy techniques as well.
Yeah. So I want to thank you so much for this lovely conversation, and hope to have a full length conversation in the future when we have our ducks in a row, shall we say? And thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Guy.
And thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode, if ever.
Take
Bye.
care, everyone.